to do another quick video, and this is the typical way, right? The way the files are typically set up in P5JS Editor online. It's the same, the same sketch, right? Exactly the same sketch, but instead of already setting up folders here before I download, this is the default, right? Normally when we look at these files, we just see the index, the sketch, and the styles, right? If I go to the index, I see that this is not referring to any folder like my other one was because I had put it into a folder. Those folders don't exist. This is not in a folder, so we just see the name of the file. The same with the CSS, right? Style.css. It's not referring to any CSS folder because I didn't put it in a CSS folder here. So this is the sort of typical, right? The typical way when you just start things up in the P5JS editor online, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, I haven't saved this one yet. I'm going to call this, the last one I guess was test 1. This is going to be test 2. Actually, I call it square test, right? Square test 2. Saving that. All right. So saved it. Now I'm going to go to download it just like before. So downloading. Okay, it's downloaded. I'm going to go to the folder, my downloads folder. There it is. There are my files. Notice there's no other folders there because I didn't create any folders here first. All right, so I'm just going to drag them over here to my test2 folder. Let me go inside of there. I'm just going to drag out every single one of these files and just pull it over. And let me rearrange them a little bit. So my index, I'm going to leave these outside of folders, and then I'll create my folders later and modify. Okay, so that's the way that looks. Now I'm going to go ahead and start my local server again. So I need to navigate. I'm going to navigate not to this folder this time, but the folder that I did before. Now I have 2 different examples here. I could go to one or the other. I want to show you how that looks. So I am going to be navigating to this folder, right? So you see where I am, ls. This tells me where I currently am by looking at the folders. I want to navigate to my desktop, so I have to change directories to desktop. Now I want to list the files and folders here too, so ls again. And there's the one I want to go to, right? So rather than type all that out, I'm just going to copy and paste it. Put it here, cd to that file, to that folder, right? Okay. Now when I make a list here, I see test01, which is this folder, test01.mov, that's the previous movie that I've just made, which is right here. And then test02, which has those files I just put in there from the download. Okay, so this is where I want to be. I'm not going to move into this folder. I'm going to stay into this folder, stay right where I am, and create the local server here. So Python 3-m http://server. Okay, and it's telling me I'm on port 8000. Okay, so http localhost 8000. Now we can see I have 3 things, those 3 things there. The first one was test01. If I click there, we'll see what we saw last time. Now we've just made this new download. So I click there, I see exactly the same thing. So it's working. Okay, but I want to reorient these files so that they're distributed into folders, right? So I want to create my CSS folder. I want to create my JS folder. I'm going to go ahead and create other folders that I'm not going to use, but just like we normally do, HTML and I'm not going to do images, I'll do media. All right, so I have all of these files that I want to put into the correct folders. So I'm going to put the JS folders together inside the JS, the JS files together into the JS folder. So there they go. So if I go there, we see those 3 files. And then I'll put the CSS file in the CSS folder. Now I can't just leave it there. I have to change the references in the HTML file, right? Because now they're inside folders. So let me open up this code. Hold on a second. I'll open that up with Visual Studio Code. Okay. All right, let me make that bigger so we can see. Okay, so what do we have here? If you recall, I've put my 3 JS files in the JS folder. I've put the CSS file in the CSS folder. So that means I have to change my references. The CSS file is in a CSS folder, so I put CSS slash. The sketch is in the JS folder, so I put JS slash. Now those other 2 files, the p5.js and the p5.sound.min.js files, they're not being linked locally, right? These are being linked online. We can see that the HTTPS, and everything should still work. I don't need to refer to these files here. It's not referring to these. I could delete these, but I'm not going to. Right now, they're being, as long as I have an internet connection, it'll connect to the p5.js file, right? There it is right there, and the p5.sound.js file, which is right there. But they're online, they're not local. So let's see if this works. I mean, we saw that it worked, but I've made changes now. So because I've added the folder references. So let me save this, and then I'll go here and reload the file. It should still work. But it doesn't. Now, why doesn't it? I'm not sure why. What's going on here? So let's see. Now, sometimes we have to get rid of saved cache files. So this is something I do all the time when I'm working with a local server. I just go to these 3 dots. I'm using Chrome, by the way. That's important to know. Chrome, you go to those 3 dots and then delete browsing data. So I'll click there and delete data, because it's relying on files that are already there. And there we go. That did it. Because it's making old references, it's relying on the file in the cache instead of the actual file, right? So when I delete the file out of the cache, or the save files out of the cache, then now it's using the actual file in the folder, so it works fine. Okay, so that's it for just how to set things up. Please let me know if you have any other questions. I'm going to show you now in other videos how to do some basic things like how to put this into divs and a few other things, okay?